Hi, this is Sean, and in this lesson we're going to get into right-hand chords. What is the deal with right-hand chords? Why do we play them? What comes from them? How do we do them? When do we not do them? All that kind of thing. If this is your first time here, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload new content. Please like this video, and if you've got something good to say, leave a comment. It really helps us grow so I can do more of this for you. Let's get into it. So first of all, what are they? Well, right-hand chords are when you have chords in the right hand when you're playing. And not just single melody lines. So if it was, say, Georgia, a lot of people play that. It's the difference between saying and then getting these right hand chords in now. So you see there's a lot more going on. And it doesn't have to be as complicated as that. I'm just playing unfiltered and uncensored at the moment. But actually we have ways for students to get into it. So you're playing more like maybe something like this, if you've not done them before. But you see there's already more interest than if you're just playing a single line in the right hand. So that's what they are. They are a full chord inverted in the right hand so that the melody is on top. So this time I use two inversions of a chord. So that little finger, pinky, some of you call that, right? Gets quite a lot of exercise. We want the melody to be the top note all the time. All that kind of stuff, right? So why would we use them? Several reasons, really. First of all, we're going to get an authentic, fuller sound, the kind of thing I've been really alluding to. Now, this idea of you play a chord in the left hand and you play just a single melody in the right hand, I don't know where that really came from. There is some truth in it, because you will hear people after about that 1958-1960 period who do play more like that. So if you're interested in tunes, standards from the standards era, perfect for this kind of thing. Those people were mostly playing with right-hand chord melody rather than just single lines. Did it happen sometimes with a single line? Sure. But was that the standard way to play? Not really. You'll hear a player like Red Garland, sure, play single lines quite often. You might hear Errol Garner play almost a single line here. You know, that kind of thing. But most people are going to be having more to do there, right? So for me, it's a fuller, authentic sound. It was also beaten into me by Barry Harris, of course, and others. But that, you know, that was very important to the way he plays. So if you're interested in that method and that system of play, then these right-hand chords are essential as well. Filling time. So even if you're playing something very simple, let's say you're playing Nearness of You. Let's try this. See, there's just filling of time with inversions in your right hand, so perfect for accompanying as well. If you're accompanying, this is just inversions, right hand, nothing fancy. And you've already got a style to play, right? Without even doing anything else like voicings or movements or anything else, right? Once you start adding voicings and movements, then of course even more interest. With that whole Barry Harris method, as you probably know, I studied with Barry, that has to happen with both hands, and it's in the right hand you need those chords to be moving around. So let's say if I was playing movements in accompaniment on, I don't know, My Romance, let's see if there's something here. See, these sorts of movements can come in if you've got chords in the right hand as well. And it also allows you to get lower down the piano. Here's the journey that most people go on. They start playing chords in the left hand because they read it in a book or saw it on a YouTube video. And then they go to a teacher or they watch a video and go, how do I become more interesting? So if they're playing like this, let's take something like All the Things You Are. Let's say they're playing like this. First of all, they've got a whole chord in the left hand. And then they say, well, how do I become more interesting? And then the teacher says, why don't you play some rootless chords with like ninths and stuff? And 13ths. Students confused. Secondly, they can't get low enough down the piano if they want to play here. So everything's getting higher and higher because you're playing rootless chords that don't sound good down the bottom. So you can't even use this whole area. Then this idea of the bass player plays down there so you don't play comes in. Just listen to what Barry said about that. It's not been my experience. It hasn't been his experience. That's if you're gentle enough down the bottom, you're absolutely fine. So several things that it's allowed us to do already. How to play them, we covered a little bit already. Take a melody and just put a whole chord in the right hand. Now, the more you learn about our method that we teach on Jazz Skills to do with getting right hand inversions and right hand voicings. I do some of this on YouTube as well. We'll link some related lessons down the bottom. The more you can create more interest in what you're doing in your right hand. So for example, let's go back to the Georgia example. Let's bring it up actually. Okay, that's fine. So we've got this A to C. Now I would play an F major 7th with a whole chord in the right hand where the 1 is moved to 2. I've taught this on YouTube, so I call this a C6 on top of an F a lot of the time. But even if you just see that this would be your normal F major 7, but you've moved the 1 to 2, you get a better sound. Okay, simple. Now, sometimes you will not have the melody note in a chord, like on this E minor 7 flat 5. What you have is an A in the melody. Is A in an E minor 7 flat 5? No, it's not. This top note is not in an E minor 7 flat 5, so you can't put it at the top of a chord. So what do you do under those circumstances? Well, I have a rule that you find that A, now you go to the left until you find an E minor 7 flat 5 note, which is G. That's the nearest E minor 7 flat 5 note. And then you just move it to that A, and what often happens, as does in this case, is it gives back to that G, right? So it's just a temporary unsettled going to a settled bit of tension release. That's how you handle melody note not in a chord. This, by the way, is a diminished chord on top of A7. I've taught this on YouTube as well. So we've got, then we've got D minor 7, where another interesting rule, I've made a few rules on this to cover these situations, which is why I want to share some of them with you, is we have a rest right at the beginning. So we're not going to put a right hand chord right at the beginning of that bar. So what we'll do is bottom note first, and then the rest of the chord and everything else that comes in will happen with that melody note. Okay, so you'll have bottom note, the rest of, I have root 7th, bottom top of chord shells in my left hand. I prefer to say bottom and top because sometimes a chord doesn't have a root and 7th, it might have a root and 6th. So bottom and top, but just the bottom until you get into that blue circle, and we finish the rest of the chord. Now I didn't put the 7th in of D minor 7th because first of all we've got it here, so we don't really have to have it, but secondly I don't want it to be above the melody. The melody is A. You can invert when you get here, that's fine, especially if you're playing slowly enough. Invert back, and we've got a simple G7 over B. Say simple, but it's over B. So in this case, I mean, I maybe chose a tricky song, but it's good because it shows you some secret rules, right? So we've got the B down the bottom to complete the shell on these slash chords where you get a G7 slash B. I just fill in with the G there. B flat minor 6, right? So that's how you would start to handle these sorts of areas on a tune. So when to use them? Well, anytime you have a tune that has quarter notes in it, you know, as your main melody, just like Georgia has loads of quarter notes, some eighth notes, right? But loads of quarter notes. I guess what I'm really getting to with this is when perhaps you don't do it as much. Well, one time you wouldn't do it is if you've got, say, a more modern tune, and perhaps this is why people got out of the habit, I don't know. But if you've got a tune that's, say, something like, because it's mostly eighth notes, it's not going to be possible to play right-hand chords all the time. There may be more of, I don't like the word stabs to describe chords, but, you know, some hits, let's say, with some of those chords. A hit. You see, so maybe some hits here and there. But if it's just a quick tune, it's just going to be some simple left-hand stuff. Now, when you're improvising, yes, that's a time when you just have a left-hand chord. That's another thing to consider. Maybe that's where some of this confusion has come from. So let me go back. There won't be any chord names on this because this is from one of my smart tunes that I use to teach particular skills. Let's go to here at the beginning of the solo. So let me actually take the end of the tune so you see the difference. I'll take the last A section, something like... So when you're improvising, sure, left-hand chords do make a lot of sense. If you're playing a quick melody, then yes, left-hand chords do make a lot of sense. But if you're playing standards, and definitely if you're playing alone, then right-hand chords make even more sense. But listen to your favorite musicians and you'll see that that skill, especially in that period of time I was talking about, makes a lot of sense to have those right-hand chords. That skill is present, okay? Hope that's helpful for you. By the way, if you're interested in Georgia, then I've taught this tune for Jazz Skills members on 3 levels. We have a whole bank of those, plus a developing fluency course to get you using all the important skills in jazz, voicings, movements, improvisation, rhythm, tunes, a vibrant community and help for me as well. So hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.